My husband brought his first love home, saying, "She's in the late stage of stomach cancer and doesn't have long. I want to take care of her." I nodded in agreement and moved out immediately to give them space. After all, he's also in the late stage of liver cancer and doesn't have much time left either. When you're dealing with two people who are about to die, you have to be a little generous. I sat on the couch, zoning out. It's been a week since I learned my husband, Howard, is in the late stage of liver cancer. He's only 28, how did he end up with late-stage liver cancer so fast? I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I dared not talk to him about it, fearing he couldn't handle it. "Honey, I need to discuss something with you," Howard's voice came from beside me. I looked at him, puzzled. "What's up?" I was so lost in thought that I hadn't even noticed when he came back. Howard gazed at me with puppy dog eyes. "Promise me first, okay?" He looked so helpless that it tugged at my heartstrings. Knowing he didn't have much time left softened my heart, and I nodded. With a beaming smile, Howard said, "I have a friend in the late stage of cancer. She's an orphan. Can she stay with us so we can take care of her?" The mention of late-stage cancer made my heart skip. "Who?" Howard stood up and went to the door. "My high school classmate. You're amazing, I love you so much." A woman stood at the door, and she looked familiar. After a moment, I realized she was Howard's first love. I'd seen photos of them together. My expression soured as Howard led her inside. He smiled as he introduced her. "Cindy, come on in. She's agreed to help take care of you." When did I agree to take care of her? I'm not her mom. Why should I be the one to look after her? Has Howard lost his mind? I was a little angry and asked sullenly, "When did you two rekindle your old flame?" Howard glared at me. "Mandy, can't you stop spouting nonsense? Cindy's very sick. Do you want to upset her to death?" I didn't know if upsetting them to death was punishable, but I probably wouldn't go to jail. If I couldn't stand it, they might as well drop dead. I sneered disdainfully. "Weren't you each other's first loves?" I don't believe nothing happened. The woman's face turned beet red, and she said pitiably, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come to disturb you. I just don't want my life to end with regrets." So, to avoid regrets, she's justified in seeking someone else's husband to care for her? I was about to shout back, but Howard was pained by her tears. He hugged her close. "Cindy, I won't let you die. I'll make sure you're happy every day." Watching the two of them embrace tightly, I laughed. Sure enough, God is watching. Howard getting cancer is heaven's doing. They're perfect for each other. Cindy nestled in his arms and spoke softly. "Sis, don't get mad at someone with late-stage cancer. You've got plenty of time to enjoy life, while I..." And with that, she was on the verge of tears, making Howard feel even more sorry for her. Indeed, there wasn't much to say to two people who didn't have long to live. I decided not to tell Howard about his condition. I grinned at them. "Okay, I won't argue with the dying. Howard, let's divorce tomorrow. Do whatever you want." Howard was taken aback. "Didn't we agree to take care of Cindy together?" "You're so kind-hearted. I knew you'd agree." I slapped him, pissed off. He was such a jerk, thinking he could take advantage. Howard hadn't even processed it, and already had a red handprint on his face. My hands stung and went numb. Cindy looked shocked. "Aren't you kind? How can you hit him?" "I wasn't trying to break you up. I wanted to join you." She was trying to guilt-trip me? As if. Howard glared at me, holding his face. "Mandy, you've disappointed me. You weren't like this before. Cindy's already pitiful. How can you behave this way?" I gave him a cold look. How does a normal guy change just because he reconnected with his first love? Is a first love that captivating? I stood near the door, within reach of a feather duster on the cabinet. "Howard, what do you want from me?" The man forced a smile. "You're a great cook. Quit your job and stay home to care for Cindy, okay? I'll earn money for us." Did he seriously think I was a fool? I grabbed the feather duster and swung it at him. Howard cried out in pain. Mandy, are you nuts? You donated $10,000 for disaster relief but won't help Cindy? How could he compare the two? I saw through him completely now. That lingering affection was gone. Howard deserved to have late-stage liver cancer. Cindy stood by, crying, "Don't hit Howard. He's just being kind, sympathizing with me. You're the one he loves most." I almost threw up at that. I swung the feather duster even harder. Divorce. Let's get divorced right away. Otherwise, I'll beat you both to death. Howard grabbed the feather duster and glared coldly. Mandy, do you really want a divorce? You chased after me back then, said you'd be with me forever. I must have been blind back then. Why else would I have fallen for such a man? Total regret overtook me. I forced a smile, my hands shaking. You said it yourself, that was back then. I'm so over it. Look at you with your beer belly, scraping oil for cooking from your round face, and your one-minute man routine. What do I even like about you anymore? Howard's face turned bright red as he took deep breaths. Mandy, you're asking for it. A wife who's been eggless for 3 years. Who else would want you? I put my hands on my hips. I've been checked, and I'm perfectly fine. It's you avoiding the tests. You probably can't have kids. Howard was so angry he was almost fainting. No way. Cindy got pregnant by me with 1 shot. It must be you who can't have kids. Cindy blushed. That was a long time ago. Don't be mad, okay? I couldn't care less, not angry with 2 twits dying of late-stage cancer. It's only because God is just. I'll definitely do more good deeds from now on. I shot a glance at Howard. I've got 2 choices for you now. Either leave the marriage with nothing, or blow this up and make the whole company know. And who knows if you'll still have a job then. If you lose your job, how are you planning to take care of your first love, who's in the last stages of cancer? She was pregnant with your child once, you can't just ignore her, right? Howard looked at me like I was his enemy. Mandy, you're asking for it. You better take that back or don't blame me for turning on you. Oh, I'm so scared. Did he forget there's a camera in the house? Everything he just did got recorded. Howard and I work at the same company. If I send the video to every single boss, he'd be out of a job for sure. Cindy gently patted Howard's chest. Howard, don't be mad. As long as I'm by your side, I can die without regrets. I don't have to go to the hospital, painkillers will do. I'm not scared of dying, just of living alone. Howard looked heartbroken again and hugged Cindy tight. Cindy, I won't let you be alone. I'll have my mom come take care of you right now. Watching them all lovey-dovey, I almost threw up. If I wasn't standing there, who knows what they might have done. Howard's mom is not easy to deal with. Nobody can win against her unless it's her son. Her cooking is just edible at best, nowhere near tasty. Hope Cindy can stomach it. I pulled out my phone and called my best friend Tina to explain the situation. Then I turned to pack my bags. I'll have to stay at my bestie's place for a bit. Tina's a cop and quite the fighter. Howard's terrified of her. I only packed the valuables, tossed out the clothes I never wore but couldn't throw away. Howard was fuming beside me. Mandy, are you really leaving me? Cindy doesn't have much time left, can't you just bear with it? Can't you be a better person and accept her? I looked up at him, his oily face shining, his eyes slightly squinted. Talking too much, maybe, as there was white foam at the corner of his mouth. He looked a mess. I was sure I wasn't into him anymore. Howard, Tina's coming to pick me up. You better behave or we'll see you at the police station. Also, I've already arranged with work, and see you at the Civil Affairs office by 10 a.m. If you don't show up, you'll deal with the consequences. Oh right, the footage of your little episode is already sent to Tina. Good luck asking her for it. Howard's eyes turned red. Mandy, are you really this heartless to divorce me? I've been so good to you, don't you care? Bringing your first love home still counts as being good? I was going to help him get treatment so I wouldn't regret it later, but now I'm just glad Cindy showed up when she did. I wouldn't want to spend a penny on him. Howard, you're the only good person in the world. Just take good care of Cindy. The savings and the car are mine. I don't want the house, that's fair enough, right? We put down $200K for the down payment, but I think it's filthy. The house probably won't sell easily in this economy. With $300K in savings and a $200K car, it's not a bad deal. Howard objected, if you want a divorce, walk away with nothing. Cindy's sick and needs the money. Don't be so cruel. I suddenly felt glad we had no kids. With a dad like Howard, those genes wouldn't make good children. Give me peace of mind. Thankfully, Howard's not gonna have any. I smirked. In that case, tomorrow I'll distribute the video at work so everyone can see what you're made of. Howard punched the wall. Mandy, you're threatening me again. In the end, Howard caved in. He made me promise in writing not to give the video to anyone at work. I agreed, knowing the video was safe with Tina, and her temper was no joke. Howard wouldn't get off easy with her. It wasn't long before Tina showed up with 2 male colleagues to help me move. Howard turned white as a sheet. Tina scouted the room before focusing on Cindy. Howard, do you remember what I told you? Howard pointed at the camera. There are cameras, remember? If you hit me, I'll report it. Tina glanced at the camera and signaled her colleague, who smashed it to bits. Howard shivered and pulled Cindy out. Cindy's in terminal cancer stage and could faint any time. If you hit us, we'll lie on the floor and won't get up. Tina raised a hand ready to hit, and I stopped her, whispering Howard's condition to her quietly. My friend's punches are no joke, and a hospital visit could reveal too much. I don't want Howard knowing about this. Tina grinned and switched gears to moving stuff. With extra hands, we took everything we could. The bed got trashed, curtains came down, and if the flooring wasn't too much work, I'd have dealt with that too. Howard watched on, angry and helpless, while Cindy dissolved into tears. By the time we were done, it was midnight. I took them for a barbecue to say thanks. With a box of beer and 2 bottles down, I clung to my best friend and bawled. 2 years dating, 3 years married. It hurt, no doubt. But my pride, it's just too big. I won't lose without a fight. Drunk, I can cry as much as I want. In the morning, I'll deny it all anyway. The next day, an alarm jolted me awake. My head throbbed, and I regretted those 2 beers. That jerk's not worth it, swore no more drinking. Out of the room, my best friend was busy in the kitchen. I tiptoed and hugged her shoulders, teasing, no work today? Well, I'm free today. I'll go with you to sort it out at the divorce office, Tina said, giving me a soft scowl. Why didn't you tell me sooner he's in the final cancer stage? I swayed her hand playfully, admitting my mistake shyly. Those days were hectic at work, and any downtime I had was spent worrying about what to do. I didn't even tell my parents. I knew what their choice would be, and I wasn't ready to give up on Howard yet. Looking back, how silly I was. Howard and Cindy waited at the door. Neither of them looked great, yet I felt quite happy. When the staff advised us to reconsider, I refused and pointed at Cindy. Look at her, his first love. I can't compete with that. Howard blushed. Mandy, if you want, the 3 of us can live together. Tina slapped him across the face. You're dreaming. With your looks, you think that's possible? I might as well hit you to wake you up. Howard almost burst into tears, and Cindy felt terrible watching. Please don't hit him, it's all my fault. Let me die, would that make it better? Was she trying to use this to threaten me? I shrugged. Sure, go ahead and die right now. If you do, I won't get divorced. Cindy was crying dramatically, and Howard held her hand. Don't be afraid, I'll protect you. He turned to me, Mandy, you're disgusting. You won't even let someone who's dying be. No sooner had he finished, did Tina slap him again. Howard looked at his friend, covering his face. Divorce, let's do it immediately. The staff was shocked but quickly processed the paperwork once they caught on. The whole thing went surprisingly smoothly. Thanks to my friend being there to help, I decided to make her a few big meals as a thank you. The next day, I applied a light bit of makeup and went to work feeling on top of the world. Downstairs at the office, I ran into Howard. He looked sleepless with dark circles and a weird complexion. No wonder, with the bed broken and the sofa gone, there's no way he slept well. Ignoring him completely, I walked off quickly. Howard yelled after me, "Mandy, you'll regret this." As if. I just regret not divorcing him sooner. It's lucky his cancer is terminal. Otherwise, I'd consider changing jobs to avoid seeing him. I just need to hang in there, he won't be around for much longer. Just before noon, Cindy showed up with lunch. Our company has a cafeteria and the food's decent, no need for her to bring anything. She just wanted to mark her territory. She must be overthinking it. Howard isn't worth my attention anymore. Cindy smiled. I brought lunch for my boyfriend. Could you please call Howard for me? An awkward silence fell in the office, and all eyes turned to me. I sighed and said softly, "We got divorced yesterday. He's terminally ill. I wish them the best." Howard rushed out, glared at me, and left with Cindy. I rolled my eyes, just speaking the truth. As long as Cindy doesn't cause trouble, I won't mention his cheating. They brought it upon themselves. Now that we're divorced, no chance I'll spare him any dignity. Not rushing over to punch him was me being well behaved. Mostly because I'm worried I might beat him into the hospital, which would be a hassle. I don't want to get tangled up with him anymore. My gossip-loving colleagues gathered around. As a victim, I got to share my grievances. I had only promised not to post videos. Saying a few things doesn't break any promises. Before long, Howard returned looking moody, carrying a lunchbox. He really can't resist his first love. My colleagues gave him judgmental looks, and he went back to his office blushing. After lunch, a colleague whispered to me about the lunch Cindy brought. The steak was rare, still bloody, and the pasta was undercooked. Howard wanted to throw it out, but after some coaxing ate it instead. I saw him almost puke several times, but he eventually finished. It was quite satisfying, seeing him suffer like that. In the afternoon, Howard was called into the manager's office and I was summoned shortly after. Didn't expect it to happen so fast. The manager cleared his throat. Personal issues are one thing, but they can't disrupt work. I don't want distractions during working hours. I nodded obediently. I really like this job and plan to do my best. Understood, I'll focus on work. Can't rely on men, earning money is what matters. I turned to Howard and added, hope Howard doesn't flirt during work, stirring up gossip and dragging me into it. Howard looked at me with a hint of resentment, and I smiled even more broadly. After work, I declined my coworkers' invites and bumped into my best friend downstairs. She must be worried I'd be harassed. I patted her shoulder. Tell me what you'd like to eat, and I'll cook it for you. Tina glanced behind me and smiled. I like whatever you make. I turned to see Howard, as irritating as ever. I snorted. What bad luck. Howard's hands trembled with anger. He obviously heard me. If Tina hadn't been there, it might have turned into another argument. As long as he's unhappy, that cheers me up. Back at home, I whipped up a feast for Tina. After eating, I lay on the couch and asked her quietly if I should tell my parents. I worried they'd get stressed or that Howard might cause trouble for them. But not telling them, what if something happened? Howard is bad news. Just as Tina started to speak, my phone rang. It was my mom. I exchanged a look with my friend. Tina nodded encouragingly as I answered the call. Mandy, where are you? Howard said you're in the late stages of cancer, and he needs $30,000 for surgery. That jerk Howard. He's the one who's sick. I couldn't catch my breath and started coughing hard. Tina took the phone. helping me settle down while speaking softly. "Auntie, it's Tina. I'm with Mandy. Howard's with his first love now, and Mandy has already divorced him. Don't give him any money." My mom was speechless with shock. As I stopped coughing, I took the phone back from Tina. "Mom, I'm fine, I'm perfectly healthy. Howard's first love has terminal cancer, and he needs money. He's just trying to scam you." My mom sighed in relief. "Good thing it's not you. Howard was really insistent, wanted us to wire the money right away, said you were unconscious." I didn't believe him. "It took several tries to reach you and your dad almost packed his bags. Why couldn't you reach me?" I noticed the signal was weak. Tina walked outside and came back with a signal jammer. No wonder I couldn't get calls. It was clear who was behind this. I quickly asked, "Mom, you didn't send him any money, did you?" "No, but if you had ignored my call any longer, would have." My mom's voice was filled with relief. I sipped some water, calming myself before firmly telling her, "Mom, put Howard's number on block. Don't listen to a word he says. If anything happens, I'll have Tina tell you. Don't get upset, Howard's got terminal liver cancer. He won't last much longer, no need for you to confront him." Knowing their tempers, if Howard wasn't sick, he'd definitely get a good beating. Hearing what I said, my mom was over the moon, pulling my dad aside, laughing out loud. I told them just to watch the show and not to spread it around. After all, we haven't signed the divorce papers yet. If he regrets it later, it'll be a hassle. Luckily, nothing was lost this time. Reporting to the police would be useless. I asked my parents to take another call from Howard and record it, just in case it might come in handy later. After hanging up, Tina was fuming, and I had to calm her down. Everyone around me has such a short temper, what would they do without me? A week later, I ran into Howard's mom after work. Holding my hand and smiling brightly, she said, "Mandy, come home with me. You're the only daughter-in-law our family acknowledges." I didn't have a great relationship with Howard's mom. I barely saw her a few times a year, we just kept things cordial for appearances. Cindy is jobless and not in good health, even a fool would know whom to choose. I pulled my hand away, smiling at her, "Auntie, they're in love. You should support them. It's your son's decision, shouldn't you respect that?" Howard's mom was taken aback, taking a deep breath. "Mandy, Howard is still young. He's just confused, he'll come to his senses soon. You guys had such a great relationship, you can't get divorced over another woman." To her, Howard being 28 was still young. I sighed, "Auntie, that's his first love. She even had an abortion for him. She's his sweetheart. You're Howard's mom, you should understand him. His happiness is what's important." Her face turned pale. I smiled even wider, "Auntie, Cindy's dying. You should fulfill their wishes, the dead should have their peace." I leaned in and whispered, "By the way, I heard some illnesses are contagious, so be careful." She was left speechless as I walked away with flair. Walking quite a distance, I heard her voice behind me, "Mandy, I'll chase her away. Will you come back, please?" I waved her off, "No thanks. I don't want any trash, it's filthy." Howard's family is just delusional, thinking they deserve better. "Mandy, you'll regret this," Howard's mom yelled. I ignored her, pretending I didn't hear. Why does it take a month to get the paper? It should be the marriage that has a waiting period. All right. Just 10 more days, I hope Howard can behave. Some things just don't last. The next day, Cindy showed up at the office with puffy eyes. Her pitiful look even stirred sympathy among some male colleagues. So annoying. If not for her late-stage cancer, I would have dealt with her already. Tearfully, Cindy said, "I know you hate me, but how could you have his mom kick me out? I'm an orphan with only Howard as family. Are you trying to force me to die?" Howard walked over, "Mandy, how can you be so cruel? Cindy doesn't have much time left, can't you be more generous? I looked at them coldly, reminding myself not to bicker with the doomed. Cindy buried herself in Howard's arms. Howard, why does everyone hate me? I just want to be by your side. Colleagues gathered to watch the drama unfold. I felt so wronged, itching to lash out. I said coolly, Cindy, I've already filed for divorce with Howard, so I have nothing to do with you all anymore. If his mom wants to kick you out, it's your family matter, not mine. Cindy lifted her head from Howard's embrace, looking utterly heartbroken, but Auntie saw you yesterday. She told me to leave when she got back. It had to be you who talked bad about me. I laughed in disbelief, eyeing her with contempt. Cindy, know your worth. No job, no income, and poor health, no wonder she doesn't think highly of you. Cindy's face flushed, tears poured down uncontrollably. I didn't want to be sick. I wanted to earn money to buy Howard a car, a house, but my health won't allow. Why are you all pushing me so hard? Sympathy flickered in the eyes of onlookers around for a moment. Luckily, some people stayed rational. Does being sick justify being a mistress? Seriously, cut the act, we're all women here. It's not about who's weaker being right. Couldn't handle his mom after stealing her man and blamed the ex-wife, how shameless. God must have eyes. People like this deserve cancer. Those always talking about death the most are the least willing to die. If you want to die, just die, don't threaten with it all the time. It's disgusting. Cindy cried even harder. Looking at Howard, I was speechless. Make sure your wife doesn't come biting around. This is a workplace, not a soap opera set. Delaying others' work, can you take responsibility? Howard gently pushed Cindy away, softly saying, Cindy, I'll talk to my mom tonight. Don't worry, I'll never abandon you. Cindy didn't reply, just whimpered quietly. Howard sighed, leaned into Cindy's ear, and whispered something. Then Cindy quietly left. Howard bowed deeply to everyone. I apologize for interrupting the workday. Cindy overthinks because of her advanced stage gastric cancer, so please forgive her. Suddenly, a female coworker curiously asked, why choose a woman in late-stage cancer and divorce your wife for her? What are you thinking? Howard didn't respond because he couldn't admit he wanted to bring her home for care without planning to divorce. If he dared to say that, he wouldn't keep his job. Someone quietly muttered that Howard was foolish, giving up a good wife for a terminally ill person. Cindy had no job, no health insurance, and her treatment would cost a fortune. Howard shot me a glare, making a quick exit. Finally, the day before getting the paper, Howard got cold feet. He said, Mandy, I can't let go of you. I don't want a divorce. Come back to me. I rolled my eyes and slapped him twice. Howard, believe me, I'll send the video to the group chat right now. I've also got the recording of you scamming my parents over the phone. 30,000 isn't a small amount. If I call the cops, you'll have a record, which will help when I push for divorce. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I slapped him twice again. For this past month, wanting a smooth divorce, I endured so much. Howard clutched his face. Mandy, you're such a shrew. If you hit me again, I'll fight back. I shook my head, grabbed a taser from my bag. Yeah, hitting you now isn't considered assault. This month, I've been carrying all kinds of protective gear in my bag, all hand-picked by my best friend. Howard chickened out. He took a big step back. Mandy, I don't agree with the last property split. Give me another 100 grand, and I'll agree to the divorce. I knew he was after money. Cindy needs money for her treatment, and his mom would never agree to sell the house, so he aimed at me. I pulled off a slick move with the staff, something my best friend taught me. Howard stepped back again, fear flickering in his eyes. I grinned and said, forget it, let's not divorce then. I'll be there to handle you guys every day. Howard was so mad he was yelling, but he didn't dare come near me. Mandy, what do you want? I'm just asking for 100 grand. You used to be so kind and caring, how did you become like this? Before this, I didn't know he was such a shameless person. Some people really are wolves in sheep's clothing. I could ask you the same thing. What do you want, huh? Do you still want me to support your first love? Do you have any shame left? You can't provide, so don't. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I slammed the stick beside him, even the air made a crackling sound. Howard was so scared he stepped back again. Mandy, how about you give me 50 grand? I promise I'll never bother you again. I'm broke right now, can't sell the house, and I'm stuck. The economy's bad, sure, selling a house isn't easy, but how is that my problem? I wagged my finger at him. If you keep talking, I'm not divorcing. I'll take Tina and move back, whip you guys every day. Howard shivered, recalling seeing Tina nab a thief once. He didn't want to relive that. I smiled sweetly. Your mom's got money, go ask her. And just a warning, if you don't get the papers tomorrow, don't even think about a divorce. I'll be there every day for a beatdown, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ain't that right, Tina? Tina'll hold you down, and I'll do the honors. We're married, so it's not assault. Howard trembling like a leaf. I spat a bah at him. 10 a.m. Tomorrow, meet me at the marriage office. If not, watch out for my revenge. I mean it. The next day, I went to the marriage office with Tina. At 10:10, Howard arrived with Cindy. Howard wore a sharp suit, Cindy in a long red dress, happiness all over their faces. Tina whispered, "What a jerk and a tart." I shrugged, not bothered at all. I've already moved on. After we got the divorce papers, Howard grinned, "I'm getting a marriage certificate with Cindy today, shouldn't you congratulate us?" I nodded, "Wishing you childless bliss and descendants aplenty, may you both live in harmony till death do you part." Howard and Cindy's faces went dark. I smirked, "What? Not happy with that? Want me to say more?" They quickly walked away. I pulled Tina to celebrate, cheers to single life. Somehow, I ended up drinking too much again. Tina said I was a mess, crying and laughing like a lunatic, that if I weren't her friend, she'd have left me there. I totally deny it, I was drunk, didn't know a thing. The next day, barely settled at work, Howard was handing out wedding invites one by one. My colleagues were stunned, their eyes darting to me occasionally. A coworker whispered, "Mandy, good thing you divorced him, definitely a scumbag." His smile seemed fake, and no way was I going to his wedding. Bad luck. I whispered, "He's gone mad for money. Can't sell the house, mom's not handing over cash, first love needs treatment, so he's leeching off you guys. Since I'm his ex-wife, he's probably too embarrassed to invite me. If he dares to." I hadn't finished when Howard's voice chimed, "Mandy, Cindy and I are getting married this Saturday, you must come." Nearby coworkers laughed. "Howard, have you lost your mind due to poverty? You want me there to crash it?" I couldn't hold back, said it a bit too loudly, catching everyone's attention. Howard turned red-faced, "We're sincerely inviting you. We want your blessing, it's Cindy's wish, and I want to fulfill it." I clapped my hands, "Well said. I'm glad I feel nothing for him now, or it'd have driven me crazy. All right, I'll come with Tina and her colleagues." "Oh, just divorced a jerk, broke now, so no wedding gift, hope you don't mind." Howard's smile was fakery, "Just you being there is enough, it's not about the money." I glanced around at the colleagues, "You all heard that? It's the thought that counts, not the money." They nodded and patted Howard's shoulder, calling him generous. Howard's smile turned even faker. A coworker gave me a thumbs up. "I've got the papers now, fearless. I'll get under his skin." On Saturday, Tina and I turned up. I brought a gift. But instead of cash, it was Howard's cancer diagnosis and recent photos of Cindy getting cozy with different guys. Hope he likes the gift. Honestly, with Cindy's energy, I doubt she's sick. Howard squeezed the gift, beaming with joy, "Welcome. Welcome." Tina winked at me. We found a seat inside to watch the show. Past noon, everyone was waiting for the bride and groom. The MC had sung 5 songs, looking close to tears. As chatter spread, Howard finally appeared, face dark. Looks like he opened the gift and faced an inner battle but still chose to go through with the wedding. He was just too hasty. Take it slow, and he'd be happier. The MC finally smiled, inviting the bride. As Howard faced the crowd, he dropped on the stage. Cindy's makeup was thick, her face seemingly rounder. Howard's mom rushed forward, shouting, "Howard, what's wrong? Someone call an ambulance." Cindy hurried after them. Howard's mom slapped her across the face and yelled, "You wretch, you brought bad luck to my son. If anything happens to him, I'll make sure you go down with him." Maybe one slap wasn't enough to cool her down. She flipped Cindy over and started hitting her hard. The whole place was filled with Cindy's cries. After Howard got taken away in an ambulance, the wedding guests just stuck around. They already handed over the gifts, so they told the hotel to keep serving food. Once they finished, they planned to visit the hospital, chatting and gossiping while eating. The vibe was surprisingly okay. I was having a really good time, and if Tina hadn't stopped me, I might have had a few drinks. I couldn't help it, I was just too happy. After the meal, Tina dragged me to the hospital. It was only a few hundred meters from the hotel, and a lot of people were heading there, so we didn't stand out. When we got there, Howard was still in the ER, and Cindy's face was a swollen mess, covered in scratches. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Howard's mom was torn between worrying about her son and yelling at Cindy. Seeing them like that, I was kind of relieved. A week later, Howard came to the company for his resignation. His eyes were red as he asked me, "Mandy, did you already know I was in the late stage of cancer, so that's why you wanted a divorce?" I shook my head. "You insisted on divorcing me for your first love. I wanted to face it with you, but you let me down." Howard was stunned. "Mandy, I regret it. I was blinded by the old flame, but she turned out to be nothing. Did you know? She's not even sick, she's healthy. But here I am, dying, and I can't accept it." Tina and I had guessed it right, Cindy was faking it all along. Once a guy's sympathy kicks in, he spoils her rotten. I said coolly, "She's your first love, she's not sick, shouldn't you be happy? Plus, didn't you see her diagnosis? Living together, you'd know if she was taking meds or not." Howard could hardly stand, leaning against the wall and gasping. 6 months later, Howard passed away. Lying beside him was a bone-thin Cindy. Howard's mom, drenched in blood, said, "I told you, if my son died, she'd go with him." Cindy was a homewrecker, she got him sick. Otherwise, he wouldn't have died. It's all her fault. She lost it. At 30, she lost her husband and raised Howard alone, putting him through college and getting him a big job. Howard was her pride and joy, her rock. Losing him broke her completely. Tina wouldn't let go of me, whispering, "Good thing you got divorced, or I'd worry she'd come after you instead with a knife." Honestly, it's possible. You never know with irrational folks how they'll think or act. Howard's mom was sent to a mental hospital, and she kept searching for her son there. I moved into a place right across from Tina's. Being close to her made me feel safer. Whenever she had time, she'd drag me out to exercise. She always said, "You can't rely on men, we've got to look out for ourselves." She's totally right. It doesn't matter if there's a man or not, having your best friend by your side is enough.